Greetings YouTube, Alain unleashed back at you from right here at the Green Thumb Gardening Channel here in Grove Zone 8B, Tifton, Georgia. In today's video YouTube, we'd like to bring you guys along with us for our very first full garden tour. That's right YouTube, we want to bring you guys along with us for our very first tour of our front yard garden extended grow area. If you've been following our channel for a while, you're aware of the fact that in most of our videos, we bring you updates on each individual section or planter of our garden separately. But a lot has changed here at the Green Thumb Gardening Channel within the past month and a half. And in fact, so much has changed, it's going to be impossible for us to bring you each individual update on each individual planter in a separate video. We have far too much going on here this year. In fact, we have 3 or 4 times more going on here this year than we did last year. And again, it's going to be impossible for us to bring you individual videos on each individual planter and what we're growing here at the Green Thumb Gardening Channel. So in the future, after this full garden tour, we will be bringing you guys updates that include 2 to 3 of our garden planters at a time. That we will keep you guys updated on exactly what it is that we're growing here at the Green Thumb Gardening Channel here in Grove Zone 8B, Tifton, Georgia. Right now, I'm going to spin this camera around for you guys. I'm going to walk you guys out to the entrance to our driveway here. I'm going to pan the camera back around across our front yard garden extended grow area, give you guys a look at what we got going on, and then I'll walk you guys through each individual section or garden planter and show you exactly what we name those garden planters or those sections of our garden and what we have growing in those sections of our garden. Hang tight, YouTube. Flower or produce any muscadines this season. We are truly excited about how much growth it has put on this season. Our purple muscadine grapevine, however, YouTube currently has roughly 12 bunches of muscadines and blossoms on it currently forming. We're really excited about that, and hopefully YouTube, hopefully this season the birds won't get them. We will indeed be able to enjoy a few muscadines from our purple muscadine grapevine plant here at the Vineyard. Next up, YouTube, at the Vineyard is our Concord grapevine. If you recall from our What's Growing in Our Greenhouse video series, we were indeed able to successfully germinate 1 Concord grape seed, and this is what it's currently looking like. If you haven't seen this video in any of our other video series, please check out our What's Growing in Our Greenhouse video series, and you can see that when this guy first germinated, it was about that big. It grew slow, and it's just beginning to take off. We transplanted it here in this section of our garden about a month ago, and it's just beginning to really take off here and make its way up to this string, up to the trellis we have above. At any rate, YouTube, next up in our front yard garden extended grow area full garden tour, we are indeed at the section of our front yard garden where we previously had Bumblebee Junction located. If you recall, we recently moved Bumblebee Junction to another section of our front yard garden extended grow area. We planted our ginger rhizomes that we saved from our ginger harvest last year here about roughly 30 days ago, YouTube. It's been about 30 days since we planted our harvested ginger rhizomes from our ginger harvest back last November that we saved to replant this season. We planted those guys here about a month ago, and this, YouTube, this is indeed what our pine cone shampoo ginger is currently looking like right here, right now at the Green Thumb Gardening Channel. Take a look at this, YouTube. Bam! Aren't they looking good, YouTube? Most of them are about a foot high right now. Recall from our last video update on our ginger here at Ginger Valley. We told you guys that these two on the end, we planted a little too deep when we originally planted them. We replanted them, raised them up in the soil a little bit, and they have indeed begun to sprout new canes. And we're very excited about what we have going on right here, right now at Ginger Valley. Next up, YouTube, is a grow experiment that we've been conducting here at the Green Thumb Gardening Channel for the past 30 days, YouTube. For the past 30 days, we've been conducting this grow experiment. And we're very proud to share the results of this grow experiment with you guys today. We didn't know whether or not we would be successful in any way with this grow experiment, but after 30 days, YouTube, this is the result of us attempting to germinate and grow our very own Haas avocado tree. Take a look at this, YouTube. Bam. Isn't it looking good, YouTube? We purchased an avocado from our local market here in Tifton, Georgia, about a month ago. We consumed that avocado, saved the seed, washed it. I planted it here in this pot about 1.5 inches below the soil. I kept the soil moist. And honestly, YouTube, I almost given up on this seed. One day I came out after watering this particular pot and noticed that the seed had begun to split open beneath the soil, and the soil was collapsing around the seed. I didn't know whether or not it was still going to make it, but again, YouTube, we currently have about 5 inches of growth in our Haas avocado tree seedling. And we can't be more excited and more proud to be able to share this grow experiment with you guys. It is possible, guys. If you like avocados, consume avocados a lot, save those seeds, save those pits, plant them in a grow mixture about 1.5 inches, 2 inches below the soil. Put it in a semi-shady area, not in full sun. Give it about a month, and you'll have your very own avocado tree. That being said, if you know anything about avocados, YouTube, you know that when you grow an avocado from a pit, it may be 10 years, YouTube. It may be 10 years before your avocado tree begins to produce fruit. But we're willing to wait that long, YouTube. We're willing to wait that long. Again, we're taking our channel and what we're growing here in our front yard garden extended grow area in a new direction. We're planting more things that will produce for us year after year consecutively, and without us having to come back and plant those things every year. And with that being said, YouTube, I'm going to take you guys on to the next thing we have going in our front yard garden extended grow area and show you what that is. Recall also, YouTube, from our What's Growing in Our Greenhouse video series, we told you guys that we were indeed able to successfully propagate 8 black mulberry tree cuttings. We told you guys that we would probably keep 2 of those cuttings for ourselves and give the other 6 away. And that is indeed, YouTube, what we intend to do here today. Take a look at this, YouTube. This is one of our black mulberry tree cuttings that we were indeed able to successfully propagate here during the fall and winter months, doing our What's Growing in Our Greenhouse video series, YouTube. We planted one here on this side of our driveway. We planted the other here on this side of our driveway. And this is what they currently both look like right here, right now, at the Green Thumbs Garden. Right now, at Sweet Baby Red. First up, we have our rosemary, and it is indeed doing well, and has grown a tremendous amount since we planted it here. Next to that, we have our lemon thyme, and as you can see, it is indeed in blossom. There's pretty little purple blossoms there. Next up is our sweet mint, and YouTube, just take a look at this. Bam. Has this mint grown or what? It's like a huge bush now. You can hardly see the little tag down in there. And it has really, really come into its own here. Next up, we have our Italian flat parsley. It is indeed doing well here in our front yard garden extended grow area here at Sweet Baby Red also. And in the very back row back there, YouTube, as you may recall, we had 3 confetti cilantro plants in one pot. We separated those. We put one over here on this side. We put 2 of the smaller ones over there on that side. And this is indeed what they're currently looking like right here, right now, at the Green Thumbs Gardening channel in Sweet Baby Red. Next up, on the other side of Sweet Baby Red, we have our basil, our sweet basil in this front row. As you recall, we had 3 basil plants in one pot. So we had to separate the root ball, and our basil really struggled. We nearly lost our basil. It turned yellow. Most of the leaves fell off of it. And we thought that we weren't going to be able to save it. But indeed, YouTube, indeed, look at exactly what is going on with our sweet basil. It has really made a comeback in the past 30 days, and it's looking extremely well. Next up, our sweet banana pepper, and as you can see, it had transplant shock issues as well. This sweet banana plant died all the way back to nearly the soil, and has just recently, within the past week, began to grow back out, turn green, and do well here at Sweet Baby Red. Next to that, we have our yellow sweet bell pepper, YouTube, our yellow sweet bell pepper, and take a look at this. You guys see that? This yellow sweet bell pepper plant did not suffer one bit, and indeed, YouTube, indeed, we have peppers. We have peppers on the plant, YouTube, and we're really excited about that. Next up in this back row, YouTube, we have our celebrity hybrid determinate tomato plant, YouTube, and indeed, YouTube, we have, bam, tomatoes on the vine already. Again, it has been 1 month since we planted our herb garden here at Sweet Baby Red, and we already have tomatoes on our celebrity hybrid determinate tomato plant. Next to that, YouTube, we have our Bonnie Centennial 100th anniversary tomato plant. Same scenario, YouTube. We already have blossoms and small tomatoes on this plant as well. And here at the front of YouTube, at the front of Sweet Baby Red, YouTube, we have our only 2 remaining buckets, 5-gallon buckets of Beauregard sweet potato slips from our greenhouse overwintering experiment. We told you guys that we originally planted 6 5-gallon buckets of Beauregard sweet potato slips that we harvested from Farmer G's planter. We harvested his sweet potatoes back last fall. We told you guys that we would indeed plant those in those 5-gallon buckets that were donated to our channel. We did that. We had some a couple of days during the winter growth season when temperatures dropped inside our greenhouse well below 30 degrees. 4 of our buckets of slips did not make it. These 2 died back all the way to the soil. We thought we had lost those also, YouTube. But this is what has happened within about the last 30, maybe 40 days here with our greenhouse overwintering experiment with our Beauregard sweet potatoes. We were originally planning to harvest these in the spring, but since they did so poorly during the winter, we decided to let these grow in our fertile garden extended grow area out here at Sweet Baby Red. And we will be indeed harvesting these probably in September, YouTube. We're going to let them grow as long as we possibly can here in these 5-gallon buckets, unless our plants indeed die. Something happens traumatic to these plants between now and then. We do indeed intend to let these stay out here and grow in these buckets at least until August or September, YouTube. Next up, YouTube, next up indeed is the spot where we previously had our 4th generation Gladiolus planted. We explained to you earlier in this video what we did with those Gladiolus once they came into flower and those flowers died off. I'm going to show you now what we did with the available spaces that we had those Gladiolus, our 4th generation wild Gladiolus planted in. Take a look at this, YouTube. Bam. Here we have our mandeville, our pink mandeville, surrounded by our garden grass that we harvested from our tire flower garden in our backyard garden extended grow area. Also accompanied by our begonias. As you know, begonias are annuals. They're not supposed to survive the winter, but somehow these begonias survive back there in our tire tower, back there at our garden pond. We transplanted those here around our pink mandeville along with our garden grass. That's what that one looks like, YouTube. There is Mr. Timmy above the water here in his garden pond here, checking me out. This is what the other one looks like, YouTube. Same thing, planted a pink mandeville in the center, surrounded by our begonias, our white and pink begonias from our tire flower garden in the backyard, and some of our garden grass. And this is what they currently look like here, right now, on the other side of Timmy the Turtle's garden pond here at the Green Thumb Garden Shop. Next up, YouTube, next up is indeed the Wildings Landing. And our dear friend, Mrs. Lori, our Celeste fig tree. Told you guys in our last video update that Mrs. Celeste was indeed, Mrs. Lori was indeed about 18 inches high in that last video. She has grown again by leaps and bounds. And not only that, YouTube, not only that, I'm going to show you exactly what's going on with Mrs. Lori. She's currently about 3 feet tall, YouTube, about 3 feet tall at this point. And take a look at what's growing around the base of Mrs. Lori. Check this out, YouTube. Bam! Can you guys see how much Mrs. Lori has grown since we planted her here in our front yard garden extended grow area? You guys see that? If you recall from our what's growing in our greenhouse video series, we showed you that Mrs. Lori was a stick about 8.5 to 9 inches long with one leaf on the top. We first rooted her in our greenhouse, and this, YouTube, this is indeed what has happened since we planted Mrs. Lori in our front yard garden extended grow area here at the Wildings Landing. And let's take a look at the base of Mrs. Lori and show you guys exactly what is going on down here. You guys see that? We have 6, YouTube, count them, 6 new branches sprouting from the base of Mrs. Lori. There's one there, we have one there, we have one there, we got one there, we got one there, we have one there, YouTube. Mrs. Lori has indeed come into her own here in our front yard garden extended grow area. Take a look at how thick that stem is. And we're really excited about the prospect of possibly having some Celeste figs here next season. Our fig tree, Mrs. Lori. Next up, YouTube, our Moringa plants. In our last video update, we told you guys that our Moringa is approximately 6 to 8 inches tall above the soil, and that we had planted them 8 inches deep in the soil. This is what they're currently looking like, YouTube. Check this out. Bam. If you recall, we originally planted 2 Moringa seedlings here in this planter here. We planted 2 on the other side of our driveway over there. Well, look at what has grown, YouTube. Look at what has grown in the last month since our last video update. An entirely new Moringa seedling. We currently have 3 here in this hole. We currently have 2 here in this hole. I'll take you guys in for a close-up and show you that they are indeed about 14 inches tall at this point. And we're super excited about what we see and the growth of our Moringas here in our front yard garden extended grow area. Next up, YouTube, is Berry Boulevard. On Berry Boulevard, you may recall that we have 4 planters on Berry Boulevard. Our first planter is Mrs. Gladiolus planter. She's currently growing cantaloupes and watermelons here in her planter. I'm going to show you guys exactly what they look like right here, right now, at the Green Thumb Garden Center on Berry Boulevard. Take a look at this, YouTube. Bam. Can you guys see that? Look at how well Mrs. Gladiolus cantaloupes are currently doing here in her 3-foot by 5-foot hugelkultur garden planter. We have 2 rows of cantaloupes on the outer edges. As you can see, some of our plants are already beginning to come into flower. We have 1 row of watermelon seeds planted in the middle. As you can see, they are indeed actually doing quite well also. We have a few late bloomers. We came back in some of the spots where our cantaloupe seeds didn't come up and stuck a few watermelon seeds in there. As you can see, we have a few late sprouters here that's currently coming up. And we'll bring you guys back for another update on Mrs. Gladiolus cantaloupes and watermelons here on Berry Boulevard in about another 2 weeks. Next up is Farmer G's planter here along Berry Boulevard. We've been harvesting strawberries at a rate of about 2 to 3 per day here since his plants first came into flower. And this is indeed what this planter currently looks like right here, right now, YouTube. Take a look at this. Bam. This tire is almost full of strawberry plants, YouTube. Not only that, our plants are loaded with strawberries. And not only that, our plants are indeed sending out runners and growing new strawberry plants here in this planter. Farmer G's strawberry plants continue to flower and produce strawberries. We continue to come out here and harvest. As you can see, currently loaded strawberries everywhere in various stages in the Farmer G's planter with his strawberry plants. Next up, YouTube, next up is indeed a blossoming fox. A lot of you might be wondering what I mean when I say a blossoming fox. If you recall, YouTube, we named this next plant in this planter along Berry Boulevard after our dear friend Vicky Fox. And YouTube, not only is our blossoming fox loaded with blossoms, it's also loaded with raspberries. Take a look at our raspberry plant, Mrs. Vicky Fox, YouTube. Bam. Can you guys see that? Can you guys see that? Mrs. Vicky Fox is currently loaded with raspberries in various stages of ripeness, blossoms, all the way around. You recall last year we had 2 or 3 raspberries late December, some kind of way late in the season. And this year, our raspberry plant, Mrs. Vicky Fox, is just loaded, YouTube, loaded with raspberries everywhere, and blossoms on our blossoming fox. And last but not least, here on Berry Boulevard, we have our dear friends Homestead and Hustles planter. We planted our 2 blackberry bushes. I'm going to show you guys exactly what they currently look like right here, right now on Berry Boulevard. Bam. Look at that, YouTube. Have they vined out or what? Every day I come out here and I wrap these vines further and further around this trellis system we have set up here, YouTube, and every day I have to come out here and do this. We don't currently yet have blossoms on our blackberry bushes here at Homestead and Hustle, but we're very, very, very pleased about the rate at which they are both growing here in their planter. Next up, YouTube, our hibiscus at the wishing well. If you guys know, from last season, we named our hibiscus at the wishing well after our dear friend, the New Orleans gardener. And take a look at exactly what's going on with her today here at the Green Thumb Gardening Channel, YouTube. Isn't she lovely? She has just begun to fully grow all of her new foliage. She's about 3 feet tall. And we simply cannot wait to see those blossoms on the New Orleans gardener. Next up, YouTube, are our Gladiolus at the wishing well. If you recall from the video series on our Gladiolus at the wishing well, you recall that we planted some of our harvested Gladiolus bulbs from last year around our wishing well, and this is what they're currently looking like at our wishing well today. That's for an all-around view. Our Gladiolus are every bit about 3 feet tall here along our wishing well. And we're super excited about the prospect of having Gladiolus blossoms around our wishing well here within the next 2 to 3 weeks. Next up, our miniature rose bush, Mrs. Cheryl from Cheryl's Organic Food Forest. And Mrs. Cheryl continues, YouTube, continues to blossom. She has blossomed all during the winter season, all last year, and we look forward to seeing her blossom and continue to blossom this year here around our wishing well also. Next up, YouTube, is a first time look at Easley Island within the last 6 months. That's right, YouTube, we have not brought you guys a video update on our banana trees, Lead Farmer 73 and Lady Lead here in the last 8 months. That's because there was nothing to show you guys. You know, late winter, late fall, late winter, the leaves fall, drop off, plants go dormant, and there's nothing to show you. Well, there is plenty to show you right now, YouTube. Because for our last video on Lead Farmer 73, Lead Farmer 73 was about 7 feet tall in our last video last season. This, YouTube, is what Lead Farmer 73 currently looks like here in our front yard garden extended grow area. Take a look at this. Yeah, just beginning to put on new leaves, and we reawaken from his winter slumber here in our front yard garden extended grow area. We do predict that Lead Farmer 73 will indeed grow every bit of 10 feet tall here in our front yard garden extended grow area this year. Beside Lead Farmer 73, we have Lady Lead, and indeed Lady Lead is looking good. Looking good. Again, they're both beginning to just awaken from their winter slumber. Lady Lead woke up about 3 weeks before Lead Farmer 73 did, so she kind of has a jump start on Lead Farmer 73, but indeed, they are both looking good over here at Easley Island in our front yard garden extended grow area. Next up, YouTube, next up is my mom's planter, her 3 foot by 6 foot gift garden planter that we did indeed name Queen Annie's Place. It's been roughly 3.5 weeks since we brought you guys our last video update on my mom's Beauregard sweet potato slips that we planted here at Queen Annie's Place, YouTube, and just take a look at what's happening. Bam. Look at that. Our Beauregard sweet potato plants have completely vined out, filled our planter, and began to spill over the sides all the way around. And things are indeed looking well at my mom's planter, Queen Annie's Place. Next to Queen Annie's Place, YouTube, we have the pumpkin patch, where unfortunately we're not growing pumpkins. We originally planted pumpkins here at the pumpkin patch roughly a month ago, a little less than a month ago, and the seeds did not germinate. For some reason, our seeds did not germinate. We came back, we planted cucumbers here in this location, and after we planted our cucumber seeds, one pumpkin plant actually popped up. What happened to the other 14 seeds we planted here, I have no idea. But this is indeed what our cucumbers at the pumpkin patch are currently looking like, YouTube. Take a look at this. Bam. We currently have about a dozen or so cucumber plants planted here at the pumpkin patch. We planted these here about 2 weeks ago, and this is indeed what they're currently looking like here at the pumpkin patch. Here's our mysterious lonely one pumpkin plant that did germinate after we planted our cucumbers here at the pumpkin patch. We decided to leave it in there and let it grow. Maybe, just maybe, we'll indeed harvest 1 or 2 pumpkins from that one pumpkin plant here at the pumpkin patch as well. Next up, YouTube, next up in our front yard garden extended grow area full garden tour is Little Creek Homestead. If you guys been following the video series on Little Creek Homestead, you recall that we planted striped shelling peas here roughly 3 weeks ago, YouTube. And this is what has happened here at Little Creek Homestead in approximately the past 3 weeks. Take a look at this, YouTube. Bam. We already have blossoms here on our striped shelling peas at Little Creek Homestead, YouTube. And not only do we have blossoms on our striped shelling pea plants, YouTube, we have peas. You guys see that? We have peas on our plants. It's only again been about 3 weeks since we planted our striped shelling peas here at Little Creek Homestead. And we can't possibly be more pleased by the rate at which our striped shelling peas have grown and are continuing to grow. And the prospect of harvesting our own crop of striped shelling peas here within the next 2.5 to 3 weeks. And last but not least, YouTube, here at our full garden tour of our front yard garden extended grow area is our 2-foot by 6-foot main hugelkultur garden planter that we did indeed name the Red Shed after our dear friend Holly's channel up in Cleveland, Ohio. Mrs. Holly, this one, my dear friend, is indeed for you. Take a look at this, YouTube. Bam! Can you guys see that? Can you see that, YouTube? Mrs. Holly's yellow wax bush bean plants are loaded with bush beans. When I say loaded, YouTube, not only loaded with bush beans, loaded with blossoms and smaller bush beans as well. They're so loaded, in fact, that our plants have begun to lean forward. And in fact, YouTube, after we finish this video today, we're going to come out here and harvest yellow wax beans from our dear friend Holly's planter here at the Red Shed. Indeed, these yellow wax beans are a product of Johnny's Selected Seeds up in Winslow, Maine. We received these seeds as a part of a package from our dear friends Mark and Tina up at Bumblebee Junction in Eastern Tennessee. We cannot thank you guys enough, Mark. You predicted that these bush beans would indeed do well here in this location in our garden, in this particular planter. And Mark, your prediction is true, my friend. Your prediction has indeed come true. They are indeed doing well, front row and back row. And again, my dear friend, we will be coming back out here after we conclude this video and harvest quite a few of these yellow wax beans from our dear friend Holly's planter here at the Red Shed. Thanks for watching this video, YouTube. And if indeed you have hung around for this entire video and you're not already subscribed to the Green Thumb Gardening channel, please take this moment and press that subscribe button beneath this video, that like button, that notification button, and be sure to share this video with your friends and family as well. Yeah, our very first full garden tour right at the Green Thumb Gardening channel, Grow Zone 8B in Tifton, Georgia.